Welcome to a horror review Sunday. Let's talk about a kind of slasher movie. It's Silent Rage with Chuck Norris, a Chuck Norris horror movie. This is really a mixed bag. It's everything. It's got action, it's got some sci-fi elements, it's got comedy, it's got romance, it's got Chuck Norris doing his thing, and it's got some horror slasher elements in it. So it's everything. So it counts for a horror review Sunday. Let's talk about it. This movie is about this guy named John Kirby getting gunned down by police. These doctors use some kind of experimental drug on him that makes him turn into Wolverine, basically, where his body regenerates damaged tissue and whatnot, and he turns into what this says on the back here, a superhuman killing machine. And Chuck Norris, the sheriff, has to put a stop to him. Now, the things that I really like about this movie is the main two characters of Charlie and Dan, played by Chuck Norris. Their duo, they're dynamic together. He's like the overweight pansy cop. He doesn't like confrontation. Chuck Norris has to basically carry all the weight and kick everyone's ass, while Charlie just kind of hangs in the back and watches him do it. They're such a great duo in this movie, and they really carry the film because I wasn't crazy about the horror sci-fi stuff side of this movie. The comedy action side of this movie I was actually enjoying a lot more. And so yeah, Charlie and Ben together, I just love them two as characters, and the humor from Charlie especially landed even on this viewing. This was my second time watching, and I liked it even more on this watch. So this was a good viewing for me. And the opening 5 minutes was actually kind of impressive. It's basically like trying to pay homage to Halloween a couple of moments. Like there's even like a shot later on that's basically like it's a POV, and the killer picks up the knife and he goes from outside to in. But the opening of this movie is like a long, like 5 minute one take. It starts with like the killer waking up in his bed, going downstairs, going outside, grabbing an axe, coming inside, axing this woman. I think it's his wife. And yeah, it's an intense opening scene. I really like the opening. And for a slasher movie, you gotta have some nudity, and this one checks that box. The acting across the board, I really liked. There's a lot of good performances in here, and I really like Chuck Norris in here, and we get to see some Chuck Norris karate action. So if you want to see some of that, you're gonna get it. So I think this movie can even please not only horror fans, but Chuck Norris fans as well. So definitely worth a watch for that. And yeah, there's some good fighting scenes. There's a couple of them in here. The choreography might not be all that great, especially I think it comes down to the editing, but they're still entertaining. It's fun. And I like that in some of the fight scenes, they don't even use music. I just like hearing all the blows, no music like drowning it out or anything like that, corny music. It could have been bad or, worse with music. And I like that they chose not to have music play over the fight scenes. And the fight scenes are also funny. Like when he like knocks that guy off the motorcycle as he's like trying to ramp it out of that bar. That just had me laughing hysterically. That was just awesome. And the third act of this movie kind of turns into Halloween 2. You got this speechless monster just roaming the halls of this hospital, and just you got like a final chase scene. I liked all that stuff. So yeah, there's like moments in here that are like a slasher movie, and then an action comedy adventure. Like it's got everything in it. I also like the actor they chose to play John Kirby. He actually looks like a good foe for Chuck Norris. He's very tall, kind of menacing. He's got a crazy face. I think they chose the right guy to play John Kirby. As for any negatives, there's some bad editing here and there. It's like just some fast forward shots, and the editing, some of the fight scenes was kind of choppy and weird. And the love scene in this movie is very cheesy, not necessary. It was just very corny. It kind of reminded me of like the Madman love scene in the jacuzzi. It's almost that ridiculous. And I wasn't crazy about the way they take down the slasher at the end. It's like, really, that's all you had to do? And it's not even like they actually took him out. I don't want to spoil what happens at the end, but what they do with the slasher villain in this movie, Kirby, it was just not really all that satisfying to me. It's like, really? That's all you had to do? I don't know, it felt like it could have been a little bit more grandiose at the end, a little bit more climactic. And this main, like, evil scientist doctor in this movie just seems a little unrealistically evil. Like, he's just so forced in this movie, like, how stupid he is. Like, I don't think anybody would be that reckless and dumb. And I also just didn't really care for the whole sci fi side of this story, like all the Frankenstein crap, like them injecting the drug and waiting for him to wake up. It takes a while for him to like escape the hospital, and I just feel like that could have been shortened. Like I feel like they could have made a better Chuck Norris slasher movie if they just took that shit out and just made it a normal, regular psychopath on the loose instead of this science fiction drug. Like I don't care about that stuff. I feel like the movie could have worked a little bit better without that story element and just make it a regular psychopath instead. But final thoughts, this is actually a very well paced, entertaining Chuck Norris slasher action movie that I really enjoyed a lot more on the second viewing. And if you've seen it before and you didn't care for it, give it a second shot. And if you haven't seen it, definitely give it a shot. I think it's highly worth the watch. It's got a cheap Blu-ray on Amazon. I think you can stream it on Amazon also, so definitely seek it out. It's entertaining. It's got some good quirky characters in it, some good fight scenes, some tension, a couple of mean kills in it. Nothing gory, but still a very well-acted, fun movie for me. So I gotta recommend that when it comes to Silent Rage, definitely check it out. Go out and buy it. All right, time for a spoiler discussion. So I kind of already talked about it. This opening is pretty cool. We get this long, like 5 minute shot, him going downstairs, grabbing the axe. The kids are going just crazy, yelling and just making all kinds of noise. Who wouldn't go nuts? If I had kids, were acting the way this guy's kids were acting, I'd start axing my family too. The mom, if that's the mom, I'm guessing that's his wife, right? She's basically Ethel. She reminded me of Ethel, except way more annoying. Like, she wasn't funny like Ethel is. She's funny and annoying. This woman in this movie was just annoying, but she kind of sounded like Ethel. You know, at one point I was just expecting her to be like, "You hear me? What are you, dumb?" I love Ethel, but this chick was just too annoying. I'm glad she got axed. So, yeah, he basically chases her upstairs. He's axing down a door, and we get like a "Here's Johnny" moment. It was very inspired by The Shining. And this guy is so tough even before he becomes Wolverine. He's like breaking handcuffs behind his back, just ripping it, and then he like kicks the cop door completely off the freaking car, like just knocks the door right off the hinge in. So then we get some very bad ADR on this doc when they're in the hospital after Kirby gets shot down. That ADR and that like doctor was so jarring. And why would they even test this drug on a psychopath? Like of all the people to test this life-saving drug, you're gonna use it first on some crazy guy who just murdered like 3 people or some shit. It's like, why would you do that? It's like you don't think you're ever gonna have an opportunity to just test it on somebody else who comes in dying. It was just a ridiculous setup, and it's like, who would do this? Who would do this? That's why I said it felt forced. This moronic doctor. This guy's got a PhD and he's still this retarded. It's like no one would do this. And so then we get like this hard cut joke that we always get in movies where someone says like, "I'm never gonna do it," and hard cut they're doing it. In this movie, the woman who's Chuck Norris's girlfriend, she's like, "We're through this time. There's no way. You have no." I think she says like, "You don't have a snowball's chance in hell of getting me in bed." Hard cut. They're having sex. So that's a typical joke we get in movies. And so this gang that Chuck Norris bumps into, that he ends up kicking all their asses later on, they're just asking for it at the beginning. Like they're just antagonizing the sheriff and his deputy for no reason, just trying to prove how tough he is in front of his biker buddies. Like this guy was asking for it. Like what a moron. And so yeah, but I just love how cool and just brave Chuck Norris is in this movie. He's got so much confidence in himself. He knows he can kick all their asses, and he does. I love all his like little one-liners back to the gangsters or whatever they are, bikers. Charlie in this movie is basically like Ozzy in Leprechaun. He reminded me of him. He's that big, lovable guy, but he's got like a childish nature to him. He seems like a child at heart. He's very immature and dumb, but he's lovable. But he's telling the story about how when he was like 6 years old, he threw his dog into a freezer because he thought it was going to help the dog, but he ends up killing his dog. It was just a really messed up story. It's like that story that what's her face told in Gremlins about her dad dying in the chimney. It's like, that's a fucked up story. And so then when they get in that bar fight, what's hilarious about it is Charlie flees the bar to go call for a backup, but instead of calling for backup, he starts talking to the guy on the other end about a pair of tits he just saw and how he thinks he's in love and he wants to go back in there and ask her out. It's just hysterical. Love Charlie in the movie. And so this woman just cannot make up her mind. The girl who's dating Chuck Norris in this movie, she's like a lot of women I've met where they're just like no one moment and then yes, like I want to bang you, and then no. She's just back and forth. Like she's like I don't want to fuck you, and then we see them fucking, and then she's like it didn't mean anything. It's over, and then she comes back to him like not even like 10 minutes later in the movie. She's like, let's start over and let's start dating again. She's just all over the place. She can't make up her mind, but that's typical. And then we get the cheesy ass the love scene, the whole montage, just them making love here, them dating, going out there. The music over it, it's friggin' cheesy. And then we meet the doc and his wife, the doctor from The Entity, and he's a doctor in that movie too. Meeting his wife and just the dialogue there. I love how these two characters were set up. They're set up to be normal people. They seem real, and therefore it's even more impactful when they get it, when they get hung and killed. So yeah, I love the introduction to him and his wife and just their chemistry together. I actually felt really bad when they died. And we get the Halloween POV nod to Halloween. He comes in, grabs the knife, and then kills the doc. But before that, he got shot 6 times, just like Halloween. But then when the wife comes home, she makes a ridiculous decision that Sydney makes fun of and scream, and that is instead of running out the front door, she runs upstairs when the front door was literally right there. When she bumps into John Kirby, there's the door. It's not like he's blocking her path. She could have just ran for the freaking front door that she left open, but she just runs upstairs. And then when she gets killed, it's got like this bad fast forward edit where it fast forwards like his motion to make it seem like he slammed her up against the wall, but when you're looking at it, it's clearly a fast forward like effect. That was just a bad choice editing wise. And it was a bad choice running up the stairs. What are you thinking, lady? And of course, we get like doctors that don't believe that Kirby's out there murdering. It's like, really? Like, Kirby comes back to the evil scientist with 6 gunshots in him, and he's like, oh, who cares if he got shot? That doesn't mean he went out killing people. It's like, how do you think he got those gunshots? He was killing people, you fucking moron. But then he's like, well, I don't care if he killed 100 people because with this drug, I could save 100 people. It's like, do you hear what you're saying? It's like, I don't care if he kills 100 million people because I can save 100. It's like, you're making no sense, buddy. You're just stupid. And then, even though he gets acid injected in him, that doesn't kill Kirby. And then that guy who injected the acid gets the needle injected into him. The syringe kills him instantly, even though it had nothing in it. So I guess maybe it was the air. Maybe he injected air into his body or something. But he died pretty quick. And so after that, we get this whole Taxi Driver homage here. And this is only like, 5 years later or some shit? We got Charlie looking in the mirror. You talking to me? Are you talking to me? And so then the main evil scientist guy in this movie, just quickly gets his neck snapped. And that was kind of lame. That guy deserved a slower death for being such a fucking idiot. And then Charlie, unfortunately, gets killed. He gets the bear hug and his back gets snapped. And it's actually impactful. I actually was kind of sad. I mean, he doesn't even die right away from getting his back snapped. Chuck Norris finds his body upstairs. He's like slowly fading away. It's very sad. And so then Chuck Norris shoots him 6 times. Again, this guy keeps getting shot, falls out the window, and then we get a cliche car blowing up when it crashes, just like in every movie back in the day when cars flipped over. You knew they were going to blow up at some point. And so, but then luckily for John Kirby, there was a lake right next to the car crash site. He was on fire, and he got to put himself out in the lake. How convenient. And then we get a nice little fight scene with no music, which I like. I like that there was no music over it. But I feel like when the girlfriend got involved, maybe there should have been some music there to make it a little bit more intense. So maybe that was a mistake. And then they just push him down a well And they're like, it's over. Yeah, we did it. It's like, it's over. He's still alive down there. I'm sure he can climb his way back up. It's like 6 shots didn't kill him. Acid injection to the neck didn't kill him. You pushing him down like a 30-foot well is going to kill him. It ain't over. So it just feels like an incomplete ending. It's like, okay, you didn't really do shit. Somebody's going to get him out of there, or he's going to get himself out of there. He's still alive. You didn't finish anything. So that was kind of a lame ending. And I found it kind of odd that he was able to scream as he was falling down the well, despite the fact that he hasn't been able to make a noise throughout the movie after he came back. It was like Wolverine. He couldn't even speak. He tried talking to the evil scientist earlier, but he couldn't really make noises. But then when he's pushed down the well, full scream. So that, I don't know, maybe he got his voice back. Like Tina, or not Tina, Danielle Harris in Halloween 5. She just gets her voice back for no reason. It's like, anyways, so yeah, the end jump scare, like he comes out of the water in the well, typical, but still a fun, entertaining movie. And so the hockey mask award for favorite character in this movie for me is Charlie, the deputy, because of his just funny one-liners, and he's just the most entertaining character in the movie for me. And the Hanky Award for worst character in this movie is Dr. Phillip, because he's just a dumbass, evil scientist trying to get a freaking Nobel Prize for his stupid drug that's just killing people. And the hottest chick in this movie, of course, is Allison, Chuck Norris's girlfriend, and the Clapper Award for best scene in this movie is the bar fight between Chuck Norris and all those dumbass bikers who obviously didn't know who they were up against. And the Mr. Hat Award for best kill in this movie is Charlie, who gets his spine snapped and slowly dies. It was very sad and impactful. And the Mr. Twig Award for worst kill in this movie will be the doctor's wife, who made the idiotic decision to run upstairs instead of out the front door. And I don't like the editing of that kill. It was very silly and out of place. And those are my thoughts on Silent Rage. Let me know. Rage, as Dr. Loomis would say. I keep talking about Halloween. I can't help it. So those are my thoughts on Silent Rage. What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button. I really appreciate it. And become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, auf Wiedersehen.